Hey, good morning, folks, and welcome to Swing Trading Today. This is Bob Desmond over at the Contrarian Trader, and it is 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's get to it. Oh, the date is 1/23/2020. Uh, where to begin? I titled this video Best Stock or Swing Trading Today Netflix stock charts. We're going to do some analysis on Netflix because the price action yesterday was simply horrible, absolutely horrible. And I really don't care about their earnings. I don't believe half these people anyway, and I don't sit in the boardroom, and that's why I don't speak about fundamentals. I'm just not in the know, nor is 99.9% of the people out there. Uh, that's why we focus on the charts, because they tell us a story, it's public, and we can trade off of it. So what Reed Hastings knows, we will never know until after the fact. So we'll spend some time on Netflix discussing the intraday chart, the daily chart, the weekly chart. I also want to talk about Boeing. I want to circle back with that. We spoke about Boeing several times over the past few weeks, and I've been warning that it is setting up for a break, and it has certainly broken. But before we get to the charts, I want to go over this virus, the coronavirus, and they try to do damage control. And this is why I did not want to buy Yang yesterday. Let's go show a chart of Yang before we get into the charts and the story. Yang yesterday got back down after rocketing up on Tuesday, and I didn't want to short China because I just don't know, and I still don't know. I'm not educated enough to understand the ramifications of what is exactly going on here. Now, I know that SARS was enough to put a crimp in GDP, and this appears to be something that can't be ignored. It is spreading rapidly, and the headline out of China quarantine city of 11 million is Hong Kong, confirms second case of coronavirus. So this apparently is an event that is still unfolding, and we don't know exactly what's going on over in China. They're very limited with their information. Their transparency has to be called into question. So I think it's best to err on the side of caution. Now, they tried to do damage control yesterday. I mean damage control globally. The governments got together and tried to put a lid on this thing, and it fell apart, as did the markets. So I'll need to do a lot more reading about this virus and try to interpret what we're being told versus what is reality, and we'll trade off of it. And in the end, there may be nothing to trade off of, but it may be something to trade off of. I mean, Paul Tudor Jones, who's over in Davos, he was certainly concerned about it. And Paul Tudor Jones is one of the people that I respect quite a bit in this industry, and there aren't many of them. So when Paul Tudor Jones speaks, I certainly take notice. So if he's worried, I'm worried. So we'll circle back with this. All right, let's take a look at the intraday price action. You can see I was scanning for option opportunities earlier. Let's go to the charts. All right. Precious metals, a little bit of a concern this morning. This is a 4-hour chart. These will all be 4-hour charts of silver. Let's clean this up. Silver has been lagging a bit here. And we are nearing a lower band of support, which we'll be watching to see whether or not we test and hold, or as we drill down here, do we begin to put in higher lows and then begin to break out to new higher highs. Now the latter, breaking out to new higher highs, we're going to create a secondary tripwire here, and this will tell me on a breakout whether or not we're going to make a run up here to the upper band of resistance. Now if we break the support level here, major concern for silver, but at current it is retracing, and we are looking for some support to get hit, ideally a higher low, and then we begin to move back up. And we'll be looking to add to our existing trade of the USLV. But RSI is very, very weak here. Very, very weak. So a little bit of a concern, and I'm going to go to the reason why I have a concern in a moment. Let's go to gold. Now gold last night, after hours here, we were up over $5 per contract and per ounce, and we then backed off, and we backed off quickly. This new bar here, I mean, we undercut the lows of the prior bar really, really quick, and then you can see we just continued to weaken overnight. So we gave up all those gains from the overnight session, and we are now negative this morning. So again, more concern about the metals. You know, am I going to go bailing on my gold mining trade and silver? No, not yet. But we're going to keep watching. And again, we're going to set up a tripwire here. We do have some covered calls on a gold mining trade, which should expire worthless. I think I did a run last night checking out the delta, and they have about a 12-13% probability of expiring in the money. So I think that we're on fairly safe grounds with those options expiring worthless. I'm not looking to roll out of that position. It'll just be another week of just ideally expiring worthless. So gold, a little bit of concern this morning. And again, just like with silver, are we putting in, within this trading range, a higher low? Now the headline risk with the president on trial in the Senate should keep a bid under the metals, especially with this new coronavirus out there. That could be classified as a geopolitical event. So if we begin to break down below these tripwires within a trading range, I would become a little bit more concerned about gold, or if we broke out and become more optimistic. So these are my early warning indicators that would have me either A, looking to raise stops on the miners, and I'll go to the chart of, well, you know what, I'll go to the chart later on with numbers of the miners, and we'll look to add on a rally up and through resistance as well. So gold looking good, but under a little bit of pressure, but looking good as we may be putting in a higher low here. But I'm still concerned. And why am I concerned? Not so much about the price action of the metals, but more so about the dollar on an intraday basis anyway. On a daily basis, they tried to break it out. It's been rejected 2 sequential days, but the dollar's holding in here very, very firm. And we were up higher, and we have given up some of those gains, which is good. So my concern is a little bit alleviated. But if we begin to see a breakout in the dollar, that may act as a headwind for gold and silver. And I use the word may because the inverse correlation between the dollar and gold and silver is not as tick for tick as it was a year ago at this time. I mean, if you would have seen an up dollar by a couple of bips this time last year, you would have seen gold down several dollars more than what it is right now. But that's not the case. It would have been magnified. So in relative strength terms, the price of gold and silver, not so much silver, but gold is behaving very well relative to the US dollar, which has been very, very strong. Oil, weak again this morning, trying to hold a support level, which it recaptured. But this is bad. I'm just concerned about more false flag events out of the Persian Gulf. It would be great for my gold mining trade, but I don't want to see U.S. service members in harm's way. So I may be a capitalist, but I'm not willing to put members of our military at risk for it. So this is a butt ugly chart here. This is a daily chart now. So oil under a lot of pressure. There's no trade to be had here at current except to the short side. And I wouldn't short it personally. Not my cup of tea. Natural gas. Let's go to a 4-hour chart. It's finally up. Inverted head and shoulders set up. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder, like a mini me head. And we're beginning to break out. In fact, we have broken out above this neckline. So natural gas looking interesting this morning. Now, when I talk about these symbols in the pre-market, folks, it's really just an indication of where. Hey, Pat. Good morning to you. It's just an indication of where these trades may open up, not an indication of where they may close out the day. And tonight, before I forget, we're going to be doing Thursday night stock market futures live. So join us on YouTube. If you're not on our mailing list, I send out a link, a 15-minute alert as well, to join. So there'll be a link down below if you want to enter your email address. I don't spam. I don't do that. So if you want to join us tonight and get a 15-minute alert when we go live, click that link below. I don't know if I have to publish this first or what, or you can go back to one of my other videos or go to anywhere on the website, thecontrariantrader.com, enter your email address, and I send it out to everybody on the email list when we go live. And that's at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then at 7 p.m. tonight, we'll be doing a members inner circle, and that's a private group session with members where I review the symbols that they want me to review, and we spend some time together, and that's always some good fun. So that's tonight. Please join us. So we went over some commodities. You know what I want to go over is, platinum is breaking out. I'm going to go to that chart in a moment. Before I do that, I know there is curiosity with regards to Palladium. Now, Palladium is showing a lot of topping action here. That doesn't mean that it can't go higher. I mean, this is a commodity. I mentioned this yesterday. The chart, while we had pulled back the prior day, was looking bullish, and sure enough, we broke out. And if I said that the chart of the prior day was looking bullish, I apologize. It's my early morning mind not completely functioning yet. It was bearish. We had pulled back. But the morning chart yesterday was looking bullish, and we did, in fact, break out. So we're seeing some topping action here. So a little bit of a warning flag on the track for those that are long. But we are, of course, up this morning yet again. Now, the reason why Palladium is up is that it's used in catalytic converters. What else is used in catalytic converters is platinum. The difference is, and I don't know this, I would need to do the research. The difference is that the supply-demand ratio between the two could be entirely different, and it probably is entirely different. I would have to make that assumption until proven otherwise, and research will do that. So this is a monthly chart of platinum. This is the PPLT, and we are beginning to show signs of life here. On a monthly basis. Now we use the monthly chart for that macro view. We like to put on options trades to hedge our positions. So being a day trader, you can't really use options all that much. Maybe you can. I don't know. It's just too much work. I'd rather use the monthly charts to validate that we have an uptrend or the beginning of one, and we could sell puts if there are puts traded against this or options traded on this, or we find another vehicle where there are, and we could just generate cash flow or buy the PPLT and sell covered calls. Let's answer that question right now to see whether or not there are options traded. No options traded. So we need to find another vehicle. So just for the sake of analysis, PPLT has broken out above the upper band of resistance on a monthly basis and has pulled back. It's retested the breakout point not once, not twice, but 3 times. Now, this month, we have a continuation breakout. This is a confirmation. And while we have yet to break the downtrend, we are very close to breaking out up and into a new uptrend. So this is one that we want to keep an eye on as a possible long trade. And again, I'll need to do more research on another ETF, a platinum ETF that does provide options, and we'll look to leverage some option strategies to generate cash flows. Good volume so far this month. Higher lows on Ultimate Oscillator. So we are nearing resistance. The time to get really, really excited about the PPLT is on a close above $100 per share. Drilling down to a daily chart. Yeah, you can see that they are just gapping it up higher here day after day. This is late to the party money. They didn't cash in on the Palladium trade. Now they're trying to move into the platinum trade. So it looks as though we're setting up for a continuation run here. This is a very sloppy chart, probably thinly traded. Yeah, it's thinly traded. Only 149,000 shares traded yesterday. So I would watch for close above $100 per share on a weekly basis at least, and then look to trade the shares. Or of one, perhaps sell puts on an ETF that is optionable. So Platinum, long story short, looking interesting here. Members, more to come. Hey, good morning, RL. All right, I titled this swing trading today Netflix chart, and Netflix is a basket case. I'll go back to the pre-market activity to see how the stock market futures are trading prior to shutting down, and we'll go to about 5:30, 5:35 this morning, Eastern Standard Time. So Netflix reported earnings. It initially rallied, then sold off, then rallied again, and hit resistance. And here's the weekly chart so far. We are trading down below critical support. We had broken down below it back here on the 23rd. Pulled back, rallied back, recaptured. Now we're breaking down yet again. So we've been here before, breaking down, recapturing. I'm going to go to TrendSpider in a moment because I think it sets up a better image of where you would want to short Netflix than this chart. Let's go to a daily chart. So the weekly chart is bearish, and I drew these lines several weeks ago, or a couple of weeks ago, and you could see that our suspicions at that point in time have in fact panned out. We're seeing back then lower highs get put in, yet we were seeing higher highs on price, and that's a negative divergence. And it's only a matter of time before the markets begin to catch up. And sure enough, we have broken here. We've broken on RSI. We're continuing to break down on stochastics, and price has validated what we've been suspecting. And we have broken down below critical support. So Netflix is setting up, let's go over to TrendSpider, is setting up as a possible short trade. And there's a couple of ways of playing it. The most conclusive one, this is a monthly chart, would certainly be a break below this lower band of support here. That way you can put a stop loss right above it and get taken out with only a small loss. Here's a weekly view. Here's the same support level. I mean, if you wanted to, you could simply set up that's my bad. A little bit of a tripwire here and short a new weekly low next week. I would stay very, very small. The market is still in an uptrend. It's not as if we're shorting a stock in a counter trend rally in a bear market. You need to be very, very careful when you're opening up a short position in this kind of market. We have been nibbling to the short side of late as well, as recently as yesterday on the market as a whole, because I think that we're seeing cracks in the dike here. Does that mean that it can't rally back at some point in time later in the year into the election season? I fully expect it to. So I would stay small, but I would get more aggressive if and when we start breaking these primary lower bands of support. And once you break down below this prior low here at 251.91, it's going to be difficult to come back for quite some time. And as competition heats up on Netflix and their spend, they do a lot of production spend over there. And some of it's pretty good. Yeah, look at this daily chart. Huge reversal day yesterday. So Netflix appears to be setting up as a short. Not quite yet, though. We don't have the signal by the market. One day does not make a downtrend, but the signals are becoming more and more clear, especially if we get these stokes on a daily basis, trading down below the 50 mark. As I always like to say to members, rallies tend to fade. And I want to leave off these standalone charts with Boeing. And we've been talking about Boeing for a while now. The technicals have been setting up very bearishly, and the fundamentals and the headline risk is finally caught up to it in a very, very big way. Here is the macro view. And we've been warning about this massive head and shoulders setup. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Here's our neckline. And I've said you can't short simply based upon an observation that you may break a neckline. That's a fool's errand. You want to short the break. And this is a monthly chart. The month isn't over yet. For all I know, we could rally back. We want to be very, very careful here, but soon we'd be looking to lean into the short side on Boeing. Big volume this month. Let's go to a daily chart. Yeah, so you can't short it right now. You can't. In fact, it looks like a short-term buy. I know that sounds so speaking out of both sides of your mouth, but remember, we're looking at two time frames, right? We're looking at the monthly time frame. It looks like a short, but the month isn't over yet. So the short-term view is a daily time frame, and on a daily time frame, we're trading down below the third standard deviation Bollinger Band for the second day in a row, and we flashed a spinning top formation yesterday, which is a sign of indecision. So that implies that we're going to get a pop here. Now, what I'd be looking for is whether or not we close above monthly support as you proceed into February. And if we do not, do we rally in February in an effort to try to recapture? And you see this very, very often, no matter what time frame you're looking at. You'll get a break of a neckline or a support level. The following time period, you'll get a rally back in an effort to try to recapture and close back above. It's a fool's errand most of the time. You've broken support. The market's told you the stock wants to go down, and ultimately the attempt to try to recapture fails. And that would be a good short entry point on a continuation move lower. So Boeing, short term, we'll probably get a pop here. We'll see how we close out the month, and it's quite possibly short moving into the back half of January and into February, but not quite yet to the short side. Oversold on a daily basis. Let's go back to the futures for a moment. Take a look at the stock market futures. Go to the NASDAQ first. NASDAQ up yet again. Holding support. This is a 4-hour chart. All right, so NASDAQ yet again catching a bid. The Russell, which has been very, very weak. It's up. you can see here, I want to draw another upper band of resistance. We managed to break out and above this downtrend line here, pulled back, and we're consolidating against it. So we make it another run here on the Russell. But we've broken down below a real critical trend line. So the first price target I'd be looking for, if we manage to get up and above, let's say 1696, is this level here. What was support will now act as resistance. But clearly, the Russell is weak. I mean, even if you take a look at it on a daily time frame, not good. And this really shouldn't have been a shock to anybody, the pullback. We were trading above the third standard deviation Bollinger Band. Volume dropped off considerably yesterday. We hit support. So we should see an attempted rally back. But again, as I always like to say, the test is always at the top. Do we break out or do we put in a lower high? If we get a lower high, do we break down below recent lows? If we do, well then that's a confirmation breakdown on a daily time frame. And people and longs need to get worried. Taking a look at the S&Ps. And I want to leave off with Bitcoin because Bitcoin's flashing some interesting price action this morning. S&Ps are looking good here. Potential higher low. But again, the test is always at the top. Do we break out? Or do we put in a lower high and take out this recent low? If we begin to see this happen, lower highs and the S&P begin to take out recent lows, then the evidence becomes more and more clear that you're seeing distribution. We'll watch the volume bars, of course, to validate that. But this is not what you want to see. A breakdown to new lower highs and lower lows. That's a confirmation breakdown. Right now, we don't have that. As far as I'm concerned, we're in a consolidation range. And the path of least resistance remains unchanged, and that is to the upside. Leaving off with, I said I would leave off with Bitcoin, so we'll leave off with that. All right, so bonds are up higher. Yields under a lot of pressure. Let's take a look at yields on a daily time frame. We'll go to a weekly time frame. I think it's more important. Okay, so on a weekly time frame, we have broken down below last week's lows on yields. And it looks as though we may be going lower here. And not only that, were we to close out the week where we're at or lower, you got it, Pat, or lower, What do I want to use, this or this? We'll use this. So here is our uptrend line. Last week it closed out fairly strong. You would have assumed that we would have had a continuation move higher. This week wasn't to be. We gapped down lower. So yields are under pressure. Pat just requested the TLT. We'll go to that chart. Because if yields are getting pressured lower, that means that let's go to our annotated view. Weekly time frame on the TLT. We are poised to break out here. We're flirting with resistance. Volume is going to be light this week. Nice formation on ultimate oscillator, doing exactly what you want to. Higher lows, higher highs. Going to a daily chart. Yeah, this is interesting here. RSI held that 50 mark, higher lows, and in fact, what we're doing on a weekly time frame is we have broken out. We pulled back, retested, now we're getting a confirmation move higher or continuation move higher. So we have an indicator which is leading price performance. Not something to necessarily trade off of, but certainly something to get you ready to pull the trigger once you get the breakout, because you have the validation of the breakout in advance of the breakout already. So looking good here. Looking very good. Let's go to a daily chart. And here's our daily time frame. Okay, so we broke out. Here on the 15th of January, retest, we had a breakdown, gap up higher, and now we are following through to the upside. Volume is very light. Now this is good. This rally is good for our precious metal trade. So we want to look very, very critically at charts that are showing signs of strong price action, yet you're not seeing a lot of conviction on the volume side. Because we could easily get lured into a false sense of security that these shares are breaking out when we shouldn't. So let's just watch this volume. It dropped off consecutively yesterday. And remember that we are on a weekly time frame at resistance. Let's not ignore this. Let's keep an open mind. Let's leave off at Bitcoin. All right, so Bitcoin, we spoke about this yesterday morning, and I even threw up this tripwire, and I honestly expected this support level to hold. And this is why we don't buy on the hope that a support level will hold or a resistance level will be taken out. We buy on the event. And we broke down overnight. Broke support and we closed there. This bar, we have a continuation move lower. So I would be a bit cautious here this morning of Bitcoin. $30-minute chart. I wouldn't be a buyer. I'm not going to sell, but I'm not going to buy anymore, not until we see a support level get hit and defended. It's very disappointing that this broke down. This was a very, very nice trading range, and unfortunately it broke. And in fact, if you want to call it head and shoulder setup, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, neckline broken. So I would avoid Bitcoin for now. It's not a nasty sell-off, but it's a breakdown nonetheless. So we'll keep an eye on it. And folks, with that, I'm going to call it a morning. And remember, tonight we have Thursday night stock charts live. And what we do there is we take a look at the charts on a weekly basis to give us an early warning picture of how we might be closing out the week. And do we want to adjust our positions at all? Do we want to lighten up? Whatever. It gives us a good indication as we proceed into Friday what we need to do to manage our risk or to position ourselves to take advantage of an opportunity that might be setting up. So that's at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And again, after I publish this video, I think there should be a link in the description area below. And you can go to the website, enter your email address anywhere on the website. Members, you're going to get it anyway, so no need to do that. And I'll send you out a 15-minute alert prior to us going live. And we'll go over those charts. I'll chat with you there. Everybody have a profitable trading day, and I will talk to you soon. Hopefully tonight. Be well.